March 24th special city council meeting will now come to order. This is kind of close quarters. Would everyone like to say the pledge, or do we want to bypass it? Let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patty, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Frank Banker.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Notero. Here. Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Zabel.
Here.
Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn.
Here.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Lynn Reeves.
Here.
City Attorney Andrew Salzman.
Here.
Great. The first item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So
Jody Shirley and who was second? Frank Banker. Jody, do you have anything you'd like to add?
no, thank you.
Any other comments? No. I have one. I don't like the fact that this is one item. It's my understanding that we may only be able to have one item on the agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and make a comment about that. I feel that it would be nice for us to have a conversation with the city manager to find out more about why the timeliness of his notice of leave, and also if there's anything maybe we could do to stress that out a little bit.
I think we can have those discussions under this heading there.
Okay, great, great. In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so item 1, accept notice of retirement from City Manager Lynn Reeves and authorize advertisement for City Manager position. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Frank Banker?
Second.
Leslie? Frank, you have the floor.
Just a question, not to put you on the spot, Mr. Mayor. It might be a legal question. If we would choose council to do a ladder move, like bring somebody up, like Kyle, do we need to advertise this?
You would still have to advertise, I'm pretty sure, but go right ahead.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the charter or ordinance that I'm unaware of, council can do whatever you want to choose.
Okay.
You could
That's what
bypass this and just decide if that's what you so choose.
Because to go on with that, Kyle's been doing the job. I think you have full confidence in him. I like to see ladder moves rather than bringing somebody from an outside source. That's just my opinion.
Fair enough. Any other comments?
Then would we have to go through a full advertisement to refill Kyle's position, or is that just if we were to
That's not
promote him?
a
charter thing?
position.
So that's just a
Yeah, it's just
All
advertising.
right, the new city manager would make that.
okay.
The motion is to advertise or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments? Vice Mayor Gunn?
I agree with the promotion from within, but you got to see what's out there. You've got to see what's out there. You got to see what the range of experience is out there. And I understand that promotion from within. It's a very valuable tool. We saw that especially the last time, and it worked out very well for us. But I think we need to see what else is out there, and I think we also need to put the word out there, because there may be somebody in the neighboring municipalities who has been working in a job that might be interested in a step up too. So, in a fair deference to Kyle, I think he's experienced and he's been towing the line on this stuff. But as a responsible thing for the council, we've got to look at what's out there.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree, due diligence in all cases. I mean, I don't have any experience with Kyle or anything else, but from a business perspective, sometimes it's a disservice to the person that fleets up because they don't have the experience in the situation outside of this. you may need seasoning in a larger, more complicated environment that has multiple services such as police, fire departments. But regardless, we still need to do our due diligence.
Yes.
I concur with those comments, and this is nothing against Kyle at all. But I think it makes sense to do that. I think it's probably going to be logical that it would make sense to have Kyle be the interim, because the timeline involved with this agenda item, we're going to be past that 2 months, I would think. So it would make sense to go ahead and move Kyle up in the interim position as the city manager while we're going through this process. And of course, he would be one of the main candidates for the position, I think. So I think that makes sense. How would we make that? What do we have to do to make that happen? To move Kyle into the interim position if we haven't filled it officially before Lynn leaves?
You make a motion to do that?
Am I making a motion to do that?
To move Kyle into the interim.
Well, that's what I'm asking about the timeline.
Are we getting way off track on this agenda item? And I don't believe that that's something we can do in this meeting.
Right.
Well, that's what I was
That's-
asking. That has to be a separate meeting.
It looks like what we're trying to do is approve an application or an advertisement where we will accept applications all the way through October the 31st. So
2017.
This is just an
No,
Oh,
that's
I'm
an
sorry.
old-
I'm glad you called that out,
Right.
because I didn't see the 2017, and I was wondering why we were going so long on that.
Right.
But there are some things that we need to resolve if we are going to advertise. And it sounds like the majority of people at least want to see what else is out there. Mr. Bankert, I heard what you said, and would anyone else care to join him in that?
I mean, I think there's no reason that Kyle can't apply. And he's obviously got the benefit of knowing what's going on, and he would be within the pool of applicants that respond to our advertisement. And, you know, he gets extra points probably because he, you know,
Well,
because he's been here.
Go ahead, Mr. Gunn.
I was just going to say there's precedence already set for all of this. For the new council members, when Lynn Reeves came on board, that's exactly how this was handled when Nancy Gonzalez retired. So Lynn Reeves was already here acting. We fleeted him up for a while and then went through the hiring process. Leslie Nataro sat on that hiring committee, and she can kind of walk through all of this. All this already, this groundwork has all been laid once before, so it's nothing new.
Yeah, just to let you know, that's, since I've been here a very long time in the city, that's how we've always hired. We've done, the very first city manager was here. The committee was made up of 3 council members and 3 residents. We advertised, got a bunch of applications. That group went through them. Pretty much did the same thing the last time. It was made up of 3 council members and 3 residents. My recommendation to you would be to use the Citizens Advisory Committee. It's already established to do the preliminary work, and then, you know, after it's weeded down, then, you know, give it to the council to make the selection. And, you know, maybe a council member or 2 needs to be put, you know, on that. But I think that's the simplest. The only reason I put that last job description out there was that's what the last one was, and I think it needs to be updated because it's a different animal now. As an example, you know, I just made some notes. Certified floodplain manager, you need that really for your CRS. I think you need a hands-on manager, working manager. You can't, and there's a lot of city managers out there that, you know, they're the executive, but they don't really get involved in the day-to-day operations. We're a small community. I think you need to look at that. The construction management, the projects, those are things. And now with kind of what the counties did with the building permit process, they need to have some knowledge of being able to look at you know, a construction plan for a pool or something and be able to make sure it meets our zoning requirements on all that so we can send it on to the county for a permit. For residential construction, we use an outside engineer. What we need to do is kind of just update this, and I think preliminarily that may be a good thing for possibly the Citizens Advisory Committee to do if the council's fine with that. Or if the council wants to do it themselves, that's fine. You know, I'll be glad to edit it and try to update it and then send it. I'll have Patty send it out to you, and you know, you can give me feedback if there's something in there that we're missing.
I think, if I may speak, I think that would be a good idea, is if you could edit it and send it to each one of us, then we can send Patty our edits and she can compile it as an initial,
Right.
try to move it along quickly sort
Yeah,
of process.
that's
right?
what I was suggesting.
Yeah, yeah.
The last thing that I want to do is just get into a constant perpetual edit though, and that we seem to do that a lot with documents.
Well, you don't really need to do that in the job description because
No, I
you're
think
going to
if
get the
we-
basic stuff, and
If we see
you're going to get people that apply that have never even worked in government. You're going to get, I mean,
but I
high
think
school teachers, college professors. You're going to get that.
back to the point of this job description, you're going to put the edits you see that are clear. Send it to us. If we see a job description or a skill missing, we'll add it and send it to Patty.
And then
There's
we'll-
not going to be a bunch of edits back and forth. That's how I kind of see it streamlined. Patty's the end all. You know, she makes the edits and it gets published. I don't think we need to keep going back and forth.
Recommended timeline or a deadline on having this thing ready to go.
I think if we can have it all done so that at our
April.
council meeting, we can have it to give it its final blessing and then send it out. That gives us
Week and a half.
Yeah,
Week and a
Yeah.
half.
I think that's a reasonable timeline.
Okay.
So I would say, well, we'd probably put something on the agenda, but in case the edits came, we'd put something on to review the final after
Yeah.
it's all edited. We may end up passing it out the night of the meeting because you're talking 4 or 5 days. you know.
Okay, so can
But-
we have the first draft copy in, 4 business days so that we?
You'll get it by Monday,
Okay, perfect. And then that way we can.
or maybe even by tomorrow.
We can send our recommendations, and hopefully by the time the agenda comes out, we'll have something to read.
Yeah.
And consider voting on.
Right. And if it needs to be updated, we can discuss that at the meeting.
Okay. So on this particular agenda item, it's to authorize for advertisement, but we don't actually have the ad. So what do we do? Push this out until the next meeting?
Yeah.
Table.
Well, you're going to authorize the advertisement once you approve the thing. So that's all this is really saying.
We're going to advertise.
We're going to-
Just what
We're
we're
going to
saying
advertise,
is
but
the
we're
only thing
not
that's
we're
open.
not approving the ad.
Right.
So it'll be a 2-parter.
Right.
All right. Well, while we're discussing this, would anyone like to ask Lynn any questions?
I definitely have one. How flexible are you on this timeline? If we're looking at other candidates, we'd like, if possible, a period of transition from you to the new one, to transition knowledge, experience.
Well, I'm flexible to some degree, but I don't want to be here every day of the week. Let's put it that way. I have some plans and things to do, and that's and that's why I want to go north in June. But if I need to come back a few days or something like that, that's fine. We could do, which I'm sure Glenn would know and you would know, we could do terminal leave, and then I've used my leave that way, and then Phil, if I need to come back a few days, just come back, and it just ends when it ends.
It would be nice if I envision, there's some culling process, and then we have perhaps a final interview board with the final candidates. It would be nice if Lynn sat in on those interviews. I would just like and value his feedback. Yeah, this guy, he was sounding good, but there are a lot of gaps in his work history or something. But I think Lynn could be a real valuable source in participating in those final interviews, maybe.
Perhaps with a recusal if we bring up any current employees.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in.
Yeah.
No, that's not fair to the employees.
That's understood.
And if there's a conflict, scheduling conflict, we now have a Zoom system that we can use. So we'd be more than happy to put you on Zoom.
I do know how to use that. Do I, Patty? I don't remember. With my headphone?
So you say you have a hard date of June. Is that for an extended period of time? Do you have somewhere you want to be for 2 weeks in June? We've got, you're dead in the middle of our budget cycle. It would really be beneficial to keep.
That's why I said, if we can work something out to come back a couple days here and there to take care of the budget cycle. I'm not having a problem with that. The budget's pretty much done. I'm going to be giving it to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Actually, next month. I've got pretty much finalized. I've got to go through it one more time. So we'll have our preliminary budget started. June 1st is a big day because that's when the first property evaluation comes out. The first, for us, the undergrounding assessment roll comes out. May 1st is the assessment pay down and things of that nature, but I've already taken care of that. So
those are big days, but I noticed that you timed it to where you're out of here just before then.
I told you, Mayor.
Tell him it's the humidity.
No. I did tell you, Mayor, when we talked. I said I'm flexible. I just don't want to be here every day of the week.
We can draft any kind of agreement that has the extended time or hours needed or mutual.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
We can do that. That's not a problem.
September, through the period we get through our budget, end of August, something, I mean, realistically.
Well, the worst part is June anyway.
Yeah.
That's the worst part for anybody, But like I said, I've got almost 30 days of vacation, so I can flex it into what I call terminal leave. They know what I'm talking about.
I understand.
You know what I'm talking about too? Okay, well, if you weren't in the military, most people wouldn't know anything about it.
And we'll have basically, it's like a budget of days that we can, use. Okay, we'll need 5 days here, 4 days here, maybe a final day at the end of this.
Yeah.
Now, will we need to build something in for your travel to and from? I mean, I'm kind of thinking ahead a little bit, but we probably need some sort of, term agreement that this is.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, if you've decided you're leaving in 60 days and that's what your contract requires, then we should be compensating your travel to come back and help us through some of these items.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do anything but whatever the air travel is. I'm not. Hey, I lived here 23 years, so it's a different story.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't really officially have an HR director, so these are things we probably need to get out in the air and make sure that it's covered in the agreement.
And I'm sure Andy can do that.
I do a lot of HR, so that's not a problem.
I'll give him a copy of my current contract, and maybe we just have to do an amendment to it or something.
I do have a question about the role of interim city manager. Whenever that time comes, Kyle's going to be spread thin. So is this something later on down the road we look at hiring someone else to help with the workload, or what's the future of this office looking like? Anyone have any comments on that?
You mean if he's interim?
Yes.
Well, what did I do it for? 9 months before I had the replacement.
You did it. Okay. All right. Sorry, Kyle.
Just
That
work
was with the
hard.
title.
Hey, it's part of the benefit.
I would think, we've almost got like the perfect storm here, New council, city attorney, city manager, budget cycles coming up, a lot of things coming up. Time is really of the essence, and the roadmap of how we're going to get there is more important, making sure that we stick to a compressed timeline on this stuff. We don't want to get into the April meeting, not get anything done, and drag it out till, okay, well, we'll do that work session, that's 2 to 3 weeks later, then, well, no, it's, May. I mean, if we don't stick to the thing, we got a special meeting the week after a council meeting, and we stay until we hammer out what we want in the RFQ. I mean, we set a deadline. We set a deadline. We don't just keep kicking it down the road. So.
And I would suggest too that maybe you do the work session a week earlier than the third week.
I agree.
In case we need another one? Is that what you're...
No, you've got a lot on that work
Yeah.
session. That I mean, we've got a couple ordinances and a couple other things that we need to have some discussion on. So there's 2 or 3 things that I need the input of the council going forward with a couple things. So, code fines, things of that nature. So if I would recommend that instead of the third week, actually the third week is the day after Easter, we do it the week before, the Monday before.
Sounds good.
Plan of action milestones,
What's that date?
definitive dates.
That would be the 11th of April.
11th. Is it the 11th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 4th is the first Monday and the 11th is the second. And that gives us enough time if we need to do another one that we can.
Yeah, if everybody, I mean, like I said, I would just suggest you move it to. And last time they advertised it, we advertised it in ICMA. We advertised it locally. We put it in FCCMA, which is the city manager's group. And some other, I mean, the last time they did it, we didn't put a salary in it, and that may be a good thing to just leave it that way. Don't put a salary in, say it's negotiable with whoever it is.
What would be a reasonable deadline on these applications?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So, because if you're going to edit that right now, that'd be great. I think if we had that date already in that on the 4th.
That would be helpful.
So if we assume the 4th,
I think
we're gonna
last
approve
time it was like 30,
You got 30
30?
days.
30
Yeah.
days.
I think it was
Like
30.
May 3rd.
Well, no, it was more than that last time. It was, let's see if I can see, it doesn't say when it was done. Wait a minute, Patty, we can look, is it on here? We posted it October 23rd, and the deadline was October 31st. So it was a
That
couple
wasn't
months.
much time.
No,
No, you had a
2
lot
months,
of resumes.
2 months. And we had a lot of resumes. I don't remember how many there were.
So you said October and
Well,
October.
when did you post it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Not
can't
this
be,
big.
that can't be right.
Yeah.
Must have
Right.
been
That can't be
September.
right. September 31st? Or
You said the
September?
23rd to 30th.
No, it was posted August 23rd.
Okay, you said October.
Did I say September?
You said
October.
October.
Oh.
October 23rd.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, you got a lot.
So it was August through
Very
October.
quick.
Yeah, that's what we did last time.
That's 2 months.
Yeah, because by the time you get the ad up to like ICMA, it'll go online pretty quick, but then they have other avenues that it goes out to. Of course, FCCMA, they'll post it online, and you'll advertise it locally, we'll put it on the webpage and stuff, but
Typically, a lot of those will end on a Friday. So I'm looking at May the 13th.
Friday
What?
the 13th, how appropriate.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. Is there any kind of, like, I know we have to put notices for meetings and ordinances coming up and things like that. Do we have that, any sort
There
of?
is no legal requirement for any type of advertisement other than what council so chooses.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments?
And as far as, we'll probably have to do some type of budget amendment during this year.
Yeah.
So, but you can do that after the fact.
We'll have to assign some travel funds, and we'll also have to deal with personnel, whatever that is, extra pay and whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah, because you'll have some costs for advertising, things of that nature. I will tell you, locally, there's been, let's see, 3 different city managers in the last few months, and they've spent a long time selecting somebody. You know, 3 different communities.
Which were they?
Madeira was one.
Clearwater.
Clearwater, Kennett City was one, and recently Reddington Shores hired a city administrator because they're a strong mayor for them. So the applicants, I think, based on what I've been told, were kind of mixed. And we got a mixed bag last time.
And remember, Clearwater had no warning. They had
No.
But that's an entirely different job than Bel Air Beach.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, any other comments? Otherwise, we'll take a vote. Does it need to be a voice vote, or can we just?
Yeah, voice, no roll call.
Okay, great. All in favor of accepting the retirement from City Manager Lynn Reeves and authorizing advertisement for City Manager position, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Great. Motion passes, and that's it for that. Next up, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Frank Baker?
One issue before we do that, I just want a quick review of the action items coming out of here. We got the job description that's going to be coming out Monday, or
Monday
no
at the
later than
latest,
Monday.
Yes.
Work session's going to be scheduled for the 11th, April 11th, a devoted one to coming up with the
Yep.
job description RFP, and then at that thing, I guess we can discuss the plan of action and milestones. For
Yeah.
Well,
We're
no,
gonna have a
April
work session on a
4th,
Wednesday?
you're going to approve the job description.
Yeah, on the.
You were going to
on
approve the
the-
job description
She'll
on
get
the
us,
4th.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll get us a draft tomorrow or Monday, and then we can all
And then we'll
send our comments to her. And
we'll send our response back, and then whatever the combined effort turns into, we'll hopefully approve it on the
Yeah,
next
4th.
regular council meeting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking more the work
RFP.
session is devoted to the roadmap of where we go after that.
that's fine.
You know, an interview, how we're going to call it, who's going to have what responsibilities in the initial cut, the recommendations, the interviews.
Are we letting the attorney search into that as well?
I don't know.
No, it's an RFP. It's due the 12th.
Yes.
But back to what you just said.
You're going to have a special work session or special meeting for that. That'll be something completely separate for the attorney interviews once we find out how many
Yeah, that's what I
RFPs.
said.
We all agreed that we would finalize the description of the ad before our council meeting. We will have the RFP also at that council meeting. Do we need
No.
an RFP for this?
No.
Because you said something about RFP.
Well, no, for the
this.
work session, I'm just thinking of
Okay,
how we go through the actual selection
okay,
process.
so we're just approving the ad, period.
Right.
Yeah, we
Everything
just-
else has been approved at this point.
and
That's the most
we
important.
have to assume that we're going to get it right.
Okay.
Because we
Yeah.
can't pass it back and forth.
No, it just has to be done. That's what I wanted to make sure that we weren't dragging it out.
So everyone
Work
think it
session.
through whenever you get a copy, and mark it up however you'd like, and let's vote on it and get this thing posted
Yeah.
so this guy can take a vacation. All right, Frank Bankert, you made the motion. Does anyone else have a second?
I'll second.
Glenn Gunn, meeting adjourned.